I'm not going to talk long about this. I'm watching the Majority Report. They have a gentleman on there that I guess he plays for the Chargers, I think, California football team. And they were talking about, and this is one of those things, just like Gun Girl on the other side, we shouldn't be talking about. This is what the right does. This is fodder for Alex Jones and Trump and right wingers that Bernie Sanders isn't using the proper language and all of this stuff. And I admit some of it goes too far. They talk about what's that thing they say? The gay. How do they say it? They're like you can't say Mexican, you can't say Chinese food, you gotta. Some of it goes too far, and that's fodder for the right because the right can say that this stuff alienates average Joes because average Joes don't care about that. And I've done a video on this other night, and I was just sitting here listening to the majority, but I couldn't hold it any longer. You guys are going to fuck this up. You're going to fuck this up, and you're going to jump on Bernie because he makes a mistake somewhere, or he doesn't use your proper pronouns of transsexual and bisexual and non-binary and cisgender. You're going to fuck this up. And you're going to get mad at him because people like Joe Rogan are going to come out. Instead of you looking at this and saying, wow, this shows you how many people don't like Trump and that we need a broad coalition. Bernie hadn't even got the primary yet. He's not even that close, guys. There's still a lot of people in the running. Okay? And here we have somebody who's kind of right-wing somewhat. Joe Rogan is certainly shifted somewhat. I mean, we're kind of at war right now. You have a lot of people who are white supremacists doing this kind of stuff, and maybe Joe Rogan's kind of warm water towards that. But you have somebody who has a huge stage. I'm sure he has like 100,000, maybe more people following him on YouTube. He has a broad base of people that watch him, who listen to him. He was on Fear Factor. He was a host of that for many years. I think he was a what's that, wrestler, whatever, the MMA, whatever. And he said, listen, man, the only person I'm supporting is Bernie Sanders. You've got George Will that supports Bernie. I don't like George Will. But instead of the left looking at this as mature beings, which we should be, moving towards an organized society and saying, hey, look, a lot of folks don't like Trump. A lot of people, more importantly, don't like the current path American foreign policy has been taking over the last decade and a half. I'd say, decade and a half. Most folks don't like this. Most people are frustrated, and so this is why we're getting people like that coming to us in this late stage. Instead of the left seeing it like that, appropriately, hey, I may not agree with everything Joe Rogan has said. We can talk about that, but that's neither here nor there. Instead of respecting that, they come out against Bernie Sanders, so he has to deal with this. Why? You guys are going to fuck this up. You're going to fuck this up simply because you don't like what this guy said 6 months ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago on some video somewhere. And instead of using him as someone to broaden the base and bring in that blue dog Democrat white guys working in Pittsburgh, working in Chicago, instead of doing that, you're going to gay it up. You're going to fuck it up. Because Bernie didn't use the right pronouns, and you're kind of how do they call it? You are triggered. You're triggered. You're gonna fuck this up. And Trump, and guess what? Trump is sitting in the wings like this. Yeah. I mean, they're doing enough as it is to alienate us. Does anybody remember when AOC was up there speaking and they had some crazy woman walk up in there and she had on the jacket, come on, eat the babies, and she took the jacket off and she's screaming and hollering, and AOC's like, she put the mic behind her back and she's like, mm-hmm. And you had conservatives all over the internet talking about, that's her supporters, ha ha ha. That's her kind of people. They're crazy lip nuts, left wingers, ha ha ha. And then it turns out it was some right wing people that had some money that paid her to go to the stage and do that. I knew off the bat when I seen she had the image on her jacket and her shirt that wasn't real. And this is another thing of white people. When you live in an inner city, you deal with crazy people. Now, poverty is a part of that. People being abused when they're young, drug abuse, mental illness is undiagnosed. That's all a part of that. Those are all part and parcel of that. So when you deal with crazy people, you know you don't make sudden movements. You do just what AOC did. You take the mic, you put it behind your back. I looked at that and said, that means she ain't down with that. She's not down with that. She's like, because if she agreed, she'd be like, come up to the stage. Or she'd be like, no, she did this. And the right wingers used that to go after her. And I just kept thinking about all these mass shooters we've had. I kept thinking about all the violence we've had of people who Trump himself says are crazy. And you have right wingers making fun of mentally ill people. That's really how I saw it, is when I seen the whole details, the right wing is making fun of mental illness. And that's sick. See, like I did a video last night talking about the MAGA hat. And I was talking about how people make jokes, they get scared to see a MAGA hat. Well, look at what the MAGA hat is connected to. The New Zealand mosque shooter. Look what Confederate flag is attached to. The shooting at the church in Charleston. See, when you're a white man and you have the luxury to not pay attention to reality, that's funny. But when you live in this world, you got to go shop. And you got to go pick kids up from school and this, that, and the other. And you're thinking about, hey, there could be a mass shooter here when you hear a car backfire or something. No matter what I do, my kids could be hurt. See, you understand? That's not funny. I like that shit. That shit. It's just not funny, and it's nasty, and it's a reminder that they don't live in the same world we do. Just like all those white folks going to Richmond with rifles and body armor and bulletproof vests. Just like those people, the congressmen, that ran up into a closed session when they were. It was a closed session talking to different people, witnesses of the Ukraine thing. They were talking to people that had information on this Burisma thing. These are examples that these white people don't live in the world we live. We have black men getting killed in their apartments, guys. We had a black man get killed in his apartment who was basically smoking weed, supposedly, and eating ice cream, wearing some damn shorts that didn't even have pockets in them. And the Dallas police, their response was go get a warrant and search the apartment before the man's body was even cold. Yes. And then leak the information gained by that warrant. We had a case, Tatiana in Fort Worth, in her house with the door open because it was hot. Cop runs up in there sneaking at an open structure call and shoots in the window and kills him. No police, no put your hands up, seem like he a gangbanger. This is the reality black people live under. And you have white people up here joking about it, basically. This is white supremacy. This is white privilege. I'm not saying because you're white, you didn't work for what you had. I'm not saying because you're white, you didn't go to school and study hard for what you had. I'm not saying that. That's nobody I know is saying that. But we are saying that the reality is we're being hunted and we know it. And when you have stuff like sending a crazy person to AOC. And she, you know what? She might have really been crazy, and they just were like, let's dress her up. And she might have actually been crazy. I wouldn't be surprised. That's how cold-hearted they really are. And that shows they really don't care about mentally ill people. They don't care about solving these problems. They'll use them as a joke to make fun of the left, but they don't really care about fixing mental illness or helping people get out of poverty to where you're living in a house, you're able to bathe, which means what? Now you're able to look for jobs and get legitimate employment, get some ground underneath you, connect with family, build those uh, uh, those strong structures you need for stability in your life. They're not interested in that shit. They're interested in using crazy people, using black crime as a way to mock the left. This is what they mean when they say making liberals cry again and fuck your feelings. That's what that means. It's literally mocking people who have fell on hard times. A lot of those people are mentally ill. And mental illness isn't just schizophrenia. Mental illness is a lot of things. Mental illness is alcoholism. Mental illness is long-term, comes from long-term homelessness. And things like, it isn't just, it's a lot of things. And I just think that that's what we've seen with this kind of stuff. That they don't really care about the lesser people. I used to hear that they want to make it where make it where you rise up. They really don't. That was all bullshit and lies. They want to mock the poor. It's funny that you're poor. It's funny that you're downtrodden. They want to keep you there. And then anybody that talks about you and at least is trying to give attention to your plight, they want to mock them. Basically by saying that because crazy folks go to your rally, to that person's rally, then that person is crazy too. Now I looked at that, her putting the mic behind her back, Aya is saying, hey, free speech. I mean, I agree with what you say, but you're not, she's not asking for violence or nothing. She's not calling for violence or anything. She's not doing anything. Let her speak for a second. I didn't see it as, she's a left or something. She's a liberal. No, I looked at her like, everybody's going through something, man. Everybody's going through something. And when you're out here in this world and you go through things, you realize that sometimes people are really hurt inside. And they're really broken inside. And everybody's got a story. And don't be so quick to shut people off or down because you don't agree with everything they say. Like I said, I'm not saying people who are advocating violence or somebody coming there stanking or, coming there acting stupid. No. That's an opinion she has. I agree. Overpopulation is a problem in certain areas. I agree. I don't agree with anybody harming young children. I don't believe in abortion. But I understand what she's saying. And maybe one day we can have a discussion about that. But the fact the right would do that was a low-down, dirty, petty attack. It was nasty. And it shows you that's where Trump has taken the Republican Party and the structure of the Republican Party in this country to where they just do low-down, nasty attacks. That's it isn't just domestic terrorism and shooting up crowds in schools and churches and yoga. It isn't just that. It's actual just nastiness and pettiness. But like I said before, liberals in this country are going to fuck this up. Bernie Sanders is one of those things that comes around every 100 years, I think. I mean, I was looking at him standing up talking about Desert Storm and how he knew it was wrong back then and nobody was in there listening to him. And I just, like I said, talking about Ron Paul, how he said stuff about the war in Iraq that nobody agreed with. And now it's like those videos probably have like 100,000 views. They were prophetic in a way. They were prophetic because we're still doing this shit we did. Like I had looked at the psyche of the fascist psyche. This is Michael Brooks' show the other night I sent to my dad. And he was just talking about how fascism is the death cult. We all have that in us, but it's the death cult. It's the upliftment of the death. We all have things in us that aren't necessarily good. We're all trying to pull be our better halves. I hope. I'm talking about better half. But it's upliftment of the death cult. And it seeks death and conquest, and it won't stop. It'll destroy itself. So the Nazis did. They won't stop. I realized that's why they were able to continue the war after 40. I don't know how Germany was able to fight on from 43 on. 40, I'd have been mentally crazy. 43, I'd have been crazy. Period. You start dropping bombs on mine, I'm gonna be fucking in the mental institution. It's the upliftment of death cult. And that that's what we're looking at right now. That's what's running the country. That's what's operating as a death cult. They're at constant war. And so Bernie Sanders, Ron Paul, other folks spoke on that. I find it very humbling to look at those men now, to see where America's going, to see we're a war state. We're at war with like 4 countries at the same time. We're looking to go for 5, And, the documents come out showing us that we've been lied to about a war going on 20 years. No one cares. No one's talking about it. We're still doing it, I have it really humbles me to look at Bernie Sanders. It humbles me to know I'm living in a time where a great man like him is able to speak up and speak out. It really does humble me. I worry something will happen to him. I know he had a heart attack a couple months ago, and it definitely concerned me. He's a great man. And he's a great man because not of what he says now, but of his entire career that spans on for decades. I don't know, y'all. Peace.